like the rock music.
Yeah. It's a peppy show, Rick.
Yeah, we got to keep it honest.
Here, buddy, this is an ad hoc live
Woo!
retail gentic from Shoptalk. See it right there. We've had Yep, it was
I'm there.
Shoptalk. Now it's Shoptalk.
Right. Hot talk.
I'm live here with the man, myth, legend, Rick Watson. I knew him before his hair was curly.
Correct. Yeah, in North Carolina, the water is different.
You have two eras. You have your straight hair, Rick. I don't know if it was straight or short. I don't know what it was.
It was very short.
It was short hair Rick era, and now there's like long hippie Rick.
Hippie Rick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tell folks who you are that don't possibly know about you.
Yeah, my name is Rick Watson. I feel like when I was 15, I started working for you.
Feels like
that's how I got into
you were very young.
I was a software developer and I spent 10 years at Channel Advisor doing a whole bunch of different roles, and that's how I kind of learned e-commerce. I got hooked on it. Moved to New York City, and I got long hair, and I worked at BarnesandNoble.com to help build out their third-party marketplace. Ran a smaller business called Merchantry, which helped turn around and sell, and then worked in cross-border supply chain for Pitney Bowes, and then founded a consulting business about 7 years ago, and been doing that ever since.
Cool.
As part of that, it's like, how do we get content out there and help people learn and grow?
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
Yeah, you're known for your brazen opinions. So
spicy takes.
You have a lot of spicy takes.
Yes.
Hot takes. Let's talk a little bit about those. So
yeah,
you think a lot more about e-commerce platforms than I do, and the Shopify booth is insanely busy.
Yeah,
it seems like
they're doing great.
They're doing great.
Shopify is doing great. There are no problems.
Seems like, so I've been by, I won't name names, but I've been by a bunch of others, and it
Correct.
hasn't been as exciting. And then every chief digital officer I talk to that's replatforming is moving to Shoptalk. Moving to Shopify.
Not Spotify.
Yeah, not Spotify, Shopify.
Right.
And not Instacart, but Instagram. And am I right that there seems to be like this huge shift towards that direction? And what's going on?
I do think there's been a big move to Shopify over the past 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and I think they are gradually creeping up market. I still think there's some level of sophistication that they have had trouble accessing, like if you have more than 500 stores, or like for ERP systems, like Shopify's not really touching a lot of those things. But for like the 90% of the world that are like, hey, we want a website, we want our stuff out there, we want to be multi-channel, and it's easy to use, and they've really nailed that price performance ratio.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of the key to Shopify.
Yeah, they're always like staying right up with the latest things. They're obviously big on agentic commerce, and they.
If Harley were here, he would talk about it.
They feel like, yes, he would, very, very aggressively.
He would have a backwards hat on.
Yeah. It feels like you're not going to be. That platform will not stop moving, and it will always kind of keep you in the latest and greatest if you want to be there.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's one of the challenges that we've seen with platforms. Like both you and I have seen a lot of platforms come and go, from like ATG to Fry's to Manware to Magento, and
NetSuite had one.
Eventually, they die.
Yeah,
they're like, people lose interest in them. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, they can't. They underestimate the amount of R&D it takes to stay up with all the stuff going on in our world. It's crazy.
Yeah, but what is different about Shopify? I think that's all they do. They're not trying to do like 10 things. And it kind of feels like what a lot of companies that have tried commerce in the past, and maybe we'll talk about Facebook in a minute, or Google, tried commerce, and then it becomes more challenging. But if you're like Adobe, you have a creative suite and you have commerce, and you like
at some point
SAP, you're ERP, and you have commerce. You're like, well, ERP makes a lot more money. So
yeah, the commerce tends to starve off from the core business.
Yes.
I saw an interesting announcement that Stripe has taken ACP and integrated it with ads now, and so you can actually buy an ad on Meta.
Right.
Are they still calling themselves Meta? I guess they are.
They have abandoned and both not abandoned the metaverse.
They've kept the name, but they've abandoned the whole reason for the name.
Yeah, correct.
And So you can go buy an Instagram ad and then check out right through Stripe at the very end of that process. I saw that and I thought, I wonder if some people would cut Shopify out of that.
Yeah.
Because Shopify, one way to look at Shopify is they're really a fintech company. Like the bulk of their revenue
Correct.
comes from
Yeah.
the checkout.
It's GMV.
Yeah. It's all about the GMV. Yeah. So
They're Stripe. They're the world's largest Stripe reseller.
yes. Is there a falling out between them? Are they like starting to compete, or is it just like different tiers that I don't see?
Here's what I think is really happening. I do think there's, at least the way things currently stand, there's still like 99% non-overlap between Stripe and Shopify. Meaning like Stripe has a lane, Shopify has a lane. They don't borrow each other's lanes too much. However, agentic, what my personal theory is that Toby and the Collisons are smart enough to know that no one knows what the hell is going to happen next. And both are like so entrepreneurial that they're just like, I call it the agentic jump ball.
Yeah.
And I think both recognize like we will overlap in this world. I don't even think they know how yet.
Yeah.
And they've both decided, I think mutually almost, I don't know if they say it's collusion, but it's like they know what's going to happen. Like we will be competing.
Yeah. Okay. One juicy kind of nugget in there is PayPal kind of like pooped the bed. They have a new CEO that they just really bought in.
It's from HP. That's
he's
a
known,
big commerce
he's known
company.
for selling printers,
Right.
which has commerce at the end. So
Right.
it has to pay for the printer.
Yeah.
So it is basically a payment.
When's the last time you printed something, Scott?
It's been a minute. I think it was a tax form, and usually involves a government entity.
Same time you
that
sent
I don't
the letter.
want to deal with. Yes. So there's been rumors that Stripe would buy part of it. I kind of think if I'm Shopify, maybe that's an interesting piece to pick up. Do you think one of those guys buys PayPal, or do you think PayPal stays independent?
I think some part of PayPal will be sold off. I think is inevitable. I think
what are the parts? They've got the wallet thing,
Venmo,
Honey,
Braintree.
Venmo,
Honey,
Braintree.
I think is, I don't know. Are they still a thing? Has it been sued out of existence?
I don't
It's
know.
an affiliate scam, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, I've heard rumors that a lot of the data you see about ChatGPT is Honey leaking data. Like it uses that browser extension, which is not very secure.
Right.
So look at people's ChatGPT logs, like their conversations, and basically sell them as panel data. So
Scary, Scott.
Yeah, I'm a little freaked out by that.
Right.
So I don't use that.
Yeah, what's valuable? Correct.
Yeah.
Venmo, Braintree, and then the PayPal branded checkout is really where the margin is.
Yeah.
But they've neglected that most important part of the business,
Yeah.
which is why Mr. Chris is no longer with us.
Yeah. Cool. What else have you seen at the show? So that's our e-commerce platform. Where do you want to go next? Conversions, CRM. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the biggest discussion in agentic right now is sort of this AEO, agentic commerce optimization, discoverability. How do you meet new customers, and how do you teach them about what you do?
Yeah.
In like a very natural way, not in a forced way.
Yep.
So that's, I think, when I talk to brands, they are most interested in that part of agentic because they recognize that has actual consumer utility right now.
Yeah.
And we want to show up.
And they're not
better.
happy with how they're showing up.
Yeah, they're not happy
lots
with
of
how they're showing up. Even if they are happy, they recognize that it could change tomorrow. So it needs to get it better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
The space keeps changing.
yeah, I recently did a post of some of the frequently asked questions, and you said you've actually gotten some of those same ones.
Yeah.
So we're hearing like they're trying to operationalize that, and they're like, I'm forming a little team. Who should be on that team? What should its goals be? Should I give it a revenue number?
Right.
Who should the leader be?
Yeah.
Where should it sit in the org? Do you have any points of view on that?
I think those are, generally complex questions. Ultimately, I think someone in tech should be some kind of agentic leader, because I think you do need some kind of platforms. Like, are we going to be internally a more Gemini focused shop, or an Anthropic shop, or an OpenAI shop? You kind of need to pick no more than two of them.
Yeah.
I think picking three is hard. Picking two is doable.
Well, if you pick UCP and ACP, you've kind of covered the bases so far.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But even if you just think about the LLMs internally, like as an enterprise, like baseline for like where is all your knowledge going to go? Like there might be like Databricks or Snowflake, but then you have like, where does that go into
Yeah.
before it goes all these other places, even internally? I've heard someone have a legal department and they have like a law GPT, and so they can ask questions of their lawyer, their AI lawyer,
Yeah.
like without because they never get the time of day from their real lawyer
as a precursor to what
Exactly.
the lawyer's going to say.
So anyway, the long story short is you need a guy like an agentic tech leader, but the business project needs that business owner. So where if it's about conversion, like improving conversion agentically, like from the landing page through to the checkout, that needs to be the same owner.
Yep.
That we're talking about here.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and then we've also found that ultimately you're going to want to take your product data, optimize it for this thing, and then pull it back. So someone that's good at kind of helping through that change management through the org, because that, I've met some of these, especially brands, where it can take 6 to 9 months to get and it's like this workflow for a new PDP.
Yeah. So talk to me about pulling it back, because I think a lot of people, that's getting lost with a lot of people, because a lot of people are selling these like old school SaaS applications. You put a lot of stuff in and it blasts it out, and then it's like a roach motel. Yeah. It's like stuck in there.
Yeah.
To me, getting it back is super important, because then you have other apps, like your data backplane, like whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be reverse enriched. Like what's the word for that?
It's still enriched. You need to I tried not to use enrich because it's a confusing word.
Yeah.
Because PIMs talk about enrich and it's different than what I'm talking about enrich. So you're going to take your product catalog, and it was, it's lived for 20 or 30 years in the pre-agentic era, and now you want to agentify it. So you want to up level the attributes.
Yeah.
You want to add 2 buckets of context reviews. You want to take your on-site reviews and put them in there in a format that can be readily digested by an LM. And then you want to add a Q&A, is the typical format that UCP and ACP have. And in there, you can do a lot of really good storytelling. And that's where you're going to talk about, you're going to address any negative reviews. Mm-hmm. You're going to talk about the occasions that this is used. I kind of use this analogy. You're training the sales rep in your retail.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT is a really good sales rep if it knows. You're also going to want to talk about, if you have a product line, if you're Nike and you've got 50 shoes, this is your opportunity in Q&A to talk about where does this fit in the product line. This is a running shoe built for a marathoner or a sprinter or a casual weekend warrior.
Yeah. Where's that data even come from? I find like people are underutilizing their like customer service system.
Yep. So we will actually pull it from there.
Yeah.
We will pull it from, so there's context in, we want to harvest that from.
Right.
We'll pull it from the PIM. We actually will take some, if they have stores, what they train stores associate on. They always have part of the stores associate part. There's like a hospitality part. It's not super helpful because the agents are already pretty pedantically friendly. So you don't really have to, you don't need to teach them more about that. But what you do need is like what you would train a stores associate. Mm-hmm. Like, think about, your best stores associate you ever had. They know the product's flat. So how did they learn that? They
spend time with customers. Yeah,
and they
learn the catalog, all these things.
Yeah, so
it's old school stuff.
So that's where we get it from. So then you've got this like really 2026 product catalog that's really up leveled. Then you want to bring it back. The first thing you want to do is put it on your PDP, mm-hmm. and we have this idea of a multi-level PDP. You've got your human level at the top, and then you've got your SEO, and then you have an AEO or agentic commerce on ACO. And in the ACO, we're going to put it all in the metadata. Mm-hmm. And what we found is our customers are cherry picking some of the stuff from the human PDP. We had one where we identified this that it's a beauty company, and people were shopping by scent profile, and that came back very strong from our recommendation and what we were reading in the reviews. That people were kind of like, and all the things we digested, it was kind of obvious that it was missing from the human PDP. Right. So they decided to take that one. And we're finding a lot of them like this occasion data because people are looking for that on the PDP.
Especially on the LLMs. I mean, it starts there and then it follows them to the site.
Yeah, it's one of the most frequently asked questions an LLM has determined is a path that people go through when they make decisions. So that kind of stuff people are cherry picking, and it's like maybe 1 or 2 things on the PDP, very, very selective. Yeah. And then the rest we dump into metadata where it's invisible. And it can get picked up. What's nice is, you do this for 2 from a data feed perspective, but if you get it on metadata, Claude picks it up, Grok, wherever people happen to be shopping, they're going to pick it up there. Then what we want to do is take it and send it to anything else that you work with that could adjust it.
Yeah.
So your customer service agent, your on-site, shopping agent, if you have your own Rufus Sparky type system, we should take this up-leveled data and put it in there. And more people are switching their search experience to an LLM-based search, or at least powered by an LLM underneath part of it. So like Simulate, they got acquired by Salesforce is a good example. That that will do much better with the type of content that we're going to. So you take kind of 5 attributes, and now we've got this like literally megabytes of content that we want to like put in and give that engine a lot more.
So it sounds like you're starting with the PDP just because that's where the
first of all we start externally, so it's easier externally. We get a lot of shots on goal. And then we bring it to the PDP, and then we distribute it to wherever.
Does it like jam back into the PIM, or does it not?
So then a lot of people do take it back to the PIM, but then that ends up being that's a whole workflow that's really complicated that I don't understand.
No one wants to go there.
Because a lot of people have these workflows that they don't put anything to PIM unless it's been translated to 200 languages.
Right.
And then made it through legal. A lot of times things at that point start having to go through a legal brand verification process.
So I tell you, like, here's what I see on the show floor a lot, and like you'll tell me if that resonates with you. There are a lot of systems of record that now are saying they will agentify the rest of your business. The problem I find is that they're like advantaging whatever system they know best. So the review system saying like, you should give us all your data across your enterprise, jam it in your review platform, and we're going to agentify it for you. Or Stripe is saying, upload your catalog data to us in Stripe, and we're going to agentify it for you. I'm like,
they really
why would I give my catalog data to Stripe? Like, what's...
they don't have any context.
Like, it doesn't feel like they're like a neutral way to collect all this data in one place.
I think if you're just using them for like a checkout button or something, you have like 1 SKU or 5 SKUs, it's just like you don't have a site per se, then it would be great for that. I think that's the use.
It's like your WordPress blog or something.
WordPress, like the old, or like WooCommerce, maybe some of that kind of stuff.
No, it makes sense.
Any other hot takes? We got 2 minutes.
Keeping
it around 20 minutes.
So I think what I'm looking for coming out of Shoptalk, I see a lot of people struggling with change management, they're starting their agentic, people are forming AI councils. First of all, as soon as they form an AI council with a customer, they're going to kill innovation.
Look at what the council did to the Jedi.
Right. Order 66.
They didn't take out Palpatine.
It's a big problem. Right. It's a big problem. So the first person who joins the council, the compliance officer, the legal officer, the security team.
They have to have a
and then in the meantime, like, who then doesn't want to go is like the CMO. And so people have a hard time separating what are the things I need review and compliance in because it's PII or HIPAA or like whatever, versus which things that I could just sort of like, I should just be able to go and like move fast and break things. Do you see customers struggling with that question?
Yeah, it is. So that's why they like to do ChatGPT first, because they can kind of like have this little sandbox and keep the compliance, because it's like, it's not really seen by anybody. It's hints you're giving an LLM. It's not going to it's not like your PDP where it's extremely visible by everybody.
It's like your sacred
it's like your brand statement. So it gives you this safe space to go iterate quick and then work through the workflow later. But I don't have a secret bullet for that. It has to be the ones that are going fast. It's come from the CEO down that this is our number one priority. We need to streamline things and figure it out.
That sounds like every other transformation.
Just every other transformation.
The CEO needs to lead in. And if the CEO is leaning away, then everyone else is going to lean away.
They need to understand it enough to kind of say,
it's a problem.
This is product data. This is not, unless you're in a category where, it's food and you say gluten-free, people can get hurt. If this is like sheets or something or clothing, you the risk is very, very minimal.
If there was only a Substack newsletter where I could learn all about this retail gentic information.
That is good promotion, retail gentic right there. You had an interesting debate. I couldn't make it because I did an event here. Talk about the topics of the event.
There are 3 topics for the debate. One is, are ads coming to LLMs and what form will they take? Second is agentic commerce a nothing burger? Not because it's not going to be useful, but is it just another digital assist? Or like, what are the net new sales that are going to come from agentic, and how will those happen? And then third is there a future for independent websites? And If so, what does the website look like in 5 years from now
Yeah.
in agentic world? So that was the
Cool.
that was the debate. Which was a lot of
Give
fun.
us the highlights. Give us some teasers of where.
Highlight
Are you
teasers
guys gonna put out a
of
video? Where can people watch?
yeah,
this?
we're just processing it. We just had the event yesterday.
Right.
We're gonna
Give us
process
a
the
teaser.
video.
Tease us.
Teaser. The big thing is like right now display ads. Most retailers don't invest a lot in display ads unless you're like
Yeah, so it's a brand thing.
huge one. So it's more of a brand thing. Most people feel like it will go into this like SEO paid kind of bucket like today, and so it will come there. But what the targeting looks like is, I think, an open debate and question.
Yeah.
Because to unlock the big dollars, it needs to be performance marketing. It needs to be performance based. Like there needs to be able to ROAS for it. And
Yeah, we can't get into another chasing attribution.
yeah,
Kind of scenario.
like click this display and
Yeah.
eyeballs, and
Yeah.
that's not going to result in very much money. On the digital side, I find the interesting thing that retailers need to think about is how do you expose the actions from your website as skills or as MCP through your platform. So like we were talking about Chris Silver as the CTO of Just Food for Dogs. He was talking about like anytime you buy his product, you have to go through a vet because you need a prescription. Well, you need an appointment, which means you need to book, and you have to have a subscription. You should be able to do all that agentically in the future. Like,
Yeah.
why should I have to go 3 places like the pharmacy over here? And then if I'm in ChatGPT anyway, I should be able to book it.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
even if I don't want to check out, I can do actions. And as long
Yeah.
as those functions are exposed from the website.
Yeah, that
Really,
seems
it's an
like it was
API.
years ago until I started playing with OpenClaw, and you can just like go do that stuff.
Right.
You're like, you just tell it to go do those 3 things, and it will. And you're just
Yeah.
like, holy cow, this happened fast.
Yeah, it's pretty
But
scary.
then I thought it was kind of an edge case, but now like Claude's kind of integrating a lot of these things, and then everyone's now in Perplexity's kind of getting there, and,
Right.
and that means ChatGPT is going to have that element. So
Yeah.
it's getting mind blowing really fast on the ability
Yeah.
of these things to go do multitask.
Yeah. So that's a preview of the debate that we
All right,
did. And
awesome,
really just a bunch of people trying to pressure test these ideas.
cool.
Yeah.
And if folks want to learn more about Rick Watson, what do they do?
Yeah, you can go to rmwcommerce.com is where it's kind of the home of everything, and we do a lot of consulting with brands and retailers, and we have a newsletter, the Watson Weekly, watsonweekly.com.
Yep, and you do a fun Friday weekend.
Yeah, we
with
do a
Rick.
weekend
Yep.
podcast with Jess Liseski, who's a friend of both of us.
Yep.
And
Shout out to Jess if
More-
she's watching this.
spicy takes on
Awesome.
what's going on.
Yep, and your LinkedIn is always a good spot to find out what Rick's up to.
Exactly.
Thanks, Rick. That was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks
All
so
right.
much, Scott.
Safe trip home.
All right.